In a very cold night, we see a girl named Suzu. Her father was hitting her and yelling, and her brother was just standing there watching her. She was screaming and calling out to him to help her. Then her father took her out to an old wooden room and left her there alone because he couldn't stand to look at her face. He wished she had never been born in the first place and decided to leave her there all night. But after a little while, her brother Jinta went out after her to try and get her out. However, when he reached the place, he was shocked to find she wasn't there. He started running all over the village, screaming and looking for her, until finally he saw her trying to get closer to the village. I saw her. He ran to her quickly and apologized for not being able to protect her from their father's cruelty, because every time he tried to defend her, he got beaten up too. Suzu was born with a demon eye, and since we are in old Japan, everyone saw her as a cursed girl and treated her like a worthless insect. She knew it was impossible for her to live a normal life with that eye, so she told Jinta to go back alone and forget about her. Jinta stood silently for a moment, thinking, and in the end, he decided that he loved his sister more than anyone else. He grabbed her hand and said to her, "Let's run away." But before they ran away, he said, "Let's go make a nice cup of tea, come back, like and subscribe, and then we'll continue." They did indeed run away from their home, but it was still raining, and the weather was getting very cold, and they had nowhere to go. So they went to an old, dilapidated building and stayed there to warm themselves. Suzu fell asleep quickly, and Jinta was about to fall asleep too. But before he closed his eyes, he glimpsed a man coming towards them, saying something about taking them with him. When Jinta woke up, he found himself being carried on the back of that man, with Suzu walking beside them. The man was happy. They got down and continued their journey together until they reached their village. Most of the inhabitants of this village were blacksmiths, specialized in making swords, and everyone there was working. The man took them into his house, and as soon as he opened the door, his daughter ran to him and kept asking him about the two children with him. He told her that Jinta and Suzu would be living with them from now on, and asked if she agreed. The girl was very happy and said she was glad because she finally would have friends. She went to Jinta and introduced herself, saying her name was Shiroki and that she hoped they would be friends from now on. That same night, Jinta couldn't sleep, so he went to the man who saved them, Mutaru, and asked him, "Is something bothering you?" He was sitting cleaning his sword. So Jinta asked him, "Are you a samurai, sir?" But Mutaru replied and said, "No, I am not a samurai. I am a guardian. My job is to protect important places and people." Afterwards, Jinta and Suzu went to sit by the river with Shiroki and Chidushi. On the way, Jinta asked them about Yushi-hiki, Shiroki's mother, who helped them settle in the village. Shiroki told them that her mother is the shrine maiden, and no one can see her except the village chief, and her father is her guardian. The next day, Jinta began training with Mutaru, but he was still a beginner and was easily defeated. Mutaru told him, "You still have a long way to go, but if you keep training, you will become strong one day." Years passed. Jinta grew up and became the official guardian of the shrine maiden, who became Shiroki after her mother's death. One day, he was attending a meeting with the village elders and she was hiding behind a curtain. No one could see her. The meeting began with praise for his bravery in fighting demons. He told her he was just doing his job, and the last demon he faced had transformed into a human form to infiltrate among the villagers. One of the elders began to get nervous, and the others asked, "Why do you think the demon wanted to enter the village?" One elder said that there was a possibility the demon wanted to reach the shrine maiden, because a legend says that if a demon eats the liver of someone like her, it becomes immortal. And there was a second possibility that it wanted to reach the sacred sword that the village has guarded through generations, and they say it has tremendous magical power. One of the elders said that this sword was made by one of the greatest blacksmiths humanity has ever known, and that it is no ordinary sword. If demons are indeed looking for the sword, then a catastrophe is coming upon the entire village. Therefore, the chief asked everyone to be prepared for anything, but Kiwomasa said, "Don't worry, I and Jinta are responsible for protecting Shiroki, and that is their job." But he personally felt that Jinta was not up to the task, and of course, these words did not please Jinta, and they started arguing with each other. But the chief and Shiroka told them to lower their voices and ended the meeting. Everyone left the shrine except Jinta, because he was supposed to stay there as Shiroki's guardian. When they were alone, Shiroki came out of her room. Jinta was surprised and told her that she shouldn't appear to people in such a casual manner. But she kept laughing and said, "Stop with the formalities, we have been friends for a long time." She also told him that Suzu was inside the shrine, even though ordinary people are not allowed to enter the shrine. Suzu's appearance hadn't changed at all from the last time he saw her. When Jinta and Shiroki woke her up, she was very happy, welcomed him, and said she missed him because she didn't see him much due to his busyness fighting demons. But Jinta, even though he was happy, yelled at her saying, "This is not your place. The shrine is forbidden for anyone to enter." She was upset and said to him, "Why do you get to see Shiroki and I don't?" don't, but he told her, rules are rules, and asked her to go back home. After a while, the chief returned to the shrine and had something important to discuss with Shiroki, so he asked Jin to leave them alone. Jinta refused at first because he was her guardian and should stay with her, but Shiroka told him it was okay, and there was no problem, so he agreed and left. At that time, outside the village, demons were watching the village and it seemed they were planning something bad. At night, Shiroki left the shrine without anyone noticing and went to meet Jinta. They spent the whole day together and were very happy. They went to meet Suzu, and she was also happy because she knew they loved each other, and as long as her brother was happy, she would be happy too. After that, he and Shiroki went out and walked together, spending the entire day together. At the end of the day, she told him she wanted to tell him something important. The chief had told her that she must think about producing an heir for the shrine, and if something happened to her at the hands of the demons, there would be no heir for her. And he was right. She must get married soon. They agreed that she would marry Kiwamasa because he is the chief's son and is supposed to take his place later. Jinta didn't know what to say, and Shiroki was not happy at all. She confessed to him that she loved him and that she had intended to ask him to run away together and start something new, but she knew he would never agree. He had spent years training to protect the village, and she had taken the same vow when she became a priestess. If they ran away, it would be like throwing all their hard work away. Jinta told her, I really wouldn't have agreed. She said she would love him forever. After a period of time, Jinta was asked to attend another meeting. They told him that a demon had appeared in the forest and he must go kill it. He prepared immediately and left the village, but before he left, Kiwamasa stopped him and said, I think you found out that Shiroki is going to marry me. It's strange. Why aren't you upset? Jin replied, I care about Shiroki's safety and the village's safety, that's all. The strange thing was that Kiwamasa wasn't trying to provoke him. He knew very well that Jinta loved Shiroki and she loved him too, so the whole situation seemed awkward and not right to him. But Jinta had already made up his mind and decided to complete his mission. As soon as he entered the forest, suddenly a huge demon attacked him. Jinta asked it, Are you alone? The report said there were two. The demon replied, My colleague has already entered the village. This news did not bode well, folks. But Jinta didn't have time and had to deal with what was in front of him first. He attacked it and struck a powerful blow that cut off its arm, but the demon didn't stop and continued the attack. Jinta quickly retreated and the demon picked up its severed arm. It was amazed that someone could cut it off and wasn't upset. On the contrary, it thought Jinta was very strong. At the same time, in the village, Suzu was standing alone, and suddenly, a terrifying female demon appeared before her. Suzu was very frightened, but the demoness looked at her and said, Why are you so scared? You are like us. You are a demon too. Suzu, of course, said, No, I could never be like you, and kept denying it. But the demoness noticed something important. She said, It's clear you love your brother Jinta very much, right? And he is the reason you haven't fully transformed into a demon. She also told her, It's clear that Jinta always drowned you in love and attention, which is why you became a kind human. Iko, these words reassured Suzu a little because she truly loved Jinta from the bottom of her heart. When the demoness saw that Suzu had calmed down, she tried to convince her to help her by using her power, promising that she wouldn't hurt her. She said this very calmly and added, By the way, we demons don't know how to lie, so you can trust me. But Suzu refused because she was afraid these demons might hurt Jinta. The demoness didn't know how to respond to that point, so she decided to play it in a different way and showed Suzu a vision of the future. And what she saw was a shock. Shiroki was in the shrine with Kiwamasa, preparing to, you know my friend, marry him. Suzu was shocked, not from what was happening, but from something else, that the one with her wasn't Jinta. Suzu asked her, Is this real? The demon said with full confidence, Yes, this is my ability. I can see the future, and I can show it to others too. And if you don't believe me, I can take you right now and you can see for yourself. At that time, Jinta was still fighting the demon, but before the fight continued, he wanted to understand and asked him, Why do you attack humans? He replied, That is our purpose in life. We don't necessarily have to kill them, but we have a goal we must achieve, and my goal right now is to delay you. This demon had an ability called assimilation. It could eat other demons and take their abilities, and also change its body shape as it pleased. Jinta attacked with all his strength to finish it off, but was surprised by a blow from the demon that sent his arm flying. When he tried to hit it with his sword, the demon broke the sword. It literally shattered. Jinta looked like he was finished. But no, my friend. Before he died, at the last moment, he reached out his hand, took a broken piece of his sword, and plunged it into the demon's heart. Just like that, the battle was over, and Jinta was victorious. But the demon, as it was dying, smiled and said, I have completed my mission, and revealed to him that the demoness who was with him had the ability to see the future and had seen a vision 170 years later. In that vision, the most powerful demon in history would be here in this village. As soon as he heard this, Jinta realized he must be talking about Suzu, but before he could think, suddenly the severed arm grabbed his head and choked him. until he lost consciousness. At the same moment, in the shrine, Kiwamasa was with Shiroki, and they were going about their business, but before they could do anything, the demoness entered the place and cut the curtain to show Suzu what was happening before her eyes. At the same time, Jin's severed arm returned. He didn't understand how, but he didn't have time to think. Suzu might be in danger, so he immediately ran towards the village. As for Suzu, she was standing in shock from what she had seen. It was very difficult for her to see Jinta loving Shiroki, but she was willing to bear it as long as he was happy, even out of her great love for him. She had remained in a child's form so as not to ruin their relationship. But now she discovers that Shiroki is going to marry someone else? No, this is too much. Suzu completely lost her temper and began to emit a strange energy, a demonic energy, my friend. The demoness began to whisper strange words in her ear, and at that moment, her demonic power awakened in a terrifying way. The entire place filled with heavy black smoke, and Suzu transformed into her adult form. Kiwamasa took the legendary sword and attacked her, but the demoness girl hit him with a powerful blow and knocked him down before he could do anything. After that, Suzu picked up Kiwamasa's body and took him outside. So clearly she had something she wanted to do with him, and she left Shiroki alone with Suzu. Afterwards, Jinta arrived at the shrine and found Shiroki still alive. She ran to him quickly and hugged him, but suddenly her head was cut off. Jinta was shocked, my friend. Afterwards, Suzu appeared behind Jinta, holding Shiroki's head in her hand. Jinta was shocked and couldn't move, and asked her why she did this. Suzu began to explain that Shiroki was going to marry another man, but Jinta told her that he had known about it from the beginning, and even if he hadn't, that was no justification for killing her. Jinta understood that the Suzu he loved in the past was dead now. With Shiroki's death, he had nothing left to lose. He had already lost his entire family. His arm began to transform into a demon's arm, and he became very angry. He looked at Suzu with a look full of disgust and anger. Suzu now didn't understand why he was looking at her like that. She told him she was trying to help him, but he said, "Help me, you destroyed me," and attacked her. Suzu was shocked, thinking he intended to abandon her like everyone else had before, so she decided to kill him and stabbed him in the stomach. But the stab had no effect on him at all, and Jinta retaliated with a powerful blow with his hand, literally piercing through her. Suzu barely survived the blow, but Jinta tried to finish her off. Suddenly, the demoness girl stood in front of him and sacrificed herself to protect Suzu. Before she died, she told her to run away quickly, and indeed, Suzu left. But before she left, she told Jinta that she had nothing left to live for, and that even if it took many long years, one day she would return and kill him, and strangle and destroy this entire world and everyone in it. After a while, Jinta decided to leave the village to improve himself, train, and prepare for the day he would meet Suzu again. He met the village chief, handed over the legendary sword to him, and told him that now he should change his name from Jinta to Jinya, a title taken by the shrine guardians. He bid him farewell and left the village, but said he would return here one day. Years passed, and we reached the year 1850. Jinya was now known by the name Jinya, and his reputation was very high, my friend, as a demon hunter. One day, he received a request from a rich man who introduced him to his assistant, Zenji, and told him that if he needed any more details about the task, he should talk to Zenji. What about Zenji? He left. Zenji welcomed Jinya and told him that the man had told him about his daughter, Natsuo, and that he wanted to protect her from the demon that appears around her. But the matter wasn't that simple. Jinya would work as a personal bodyguard for the girl because since she turned 13, she has been hearing a demon's voice saying, "Return my daughter to me." Natsuo enters the meeting room, angry, and asks Zenji and sees Jinya sitting there, so she realizes he is the guard her father brought. Jinya was about to introduce himself, but she interrupted him, annoyed, and told him to leave immediately because she thought he was a fraud and not a real demon hunter. Zenji tried to convince her that Jinya was indeed a professional and that her father had worked hard to bring him, but Natsuo refused to listen to anything. That same night, Natsuo sat on her bed, scared, and Zenji came and sat outside her room to reassure her. Jinya's efforts would have been better, but as long as Natsuo had kicked him out, Zenji would try to protect her himself, even if he wasn't strong enough against demons. Natsuo was happy that he intended to protect her, but she became upset when she found out he wasn't entirely convinced of the demon's existence. She told him that even her father didn't believe her, as evidenced by him bringing a stranger instead of dealing with the matter seriously. Zenji wasn't sure if her father believed what she was saying or not, but what he knew well was that her father loved her very much and was afraid for her. Suddenly, Natsuo heard the voice again, the demon's voice saying the phrase that always terrifies her, and she was scared to death. Natsuo was terrified and begged Zenji to help her, but unfortunately, he was as scared as she was. As soon as he saw the demon, he tried to grab his sword and told her to go into her room and lock herself in while he handled it. But the truth was, he didn't know how he would defeat this demon at all. And before the demon could touch him, suddenly his arm was cut off by a single sword strike. The one who did this was Jinya. Jinya first tried to talk to the demon and ask its name, but when it didn't respond, he decided to end the matter and cut it in half with a single strike. The demon fell to the ground and disappeared. Zenji and Natsuo were safe now. Jinya said to Natsuo, "Do you still think I'm a fraud?" Then she asked him, "Is it dead?" But Jinya replied, "No. From years of past experience, a demon doesn't truly die unless it disappears in white smoke. The smoke that came out now was black, meaning it will return again." The next morning, Zenji thanked Jinya for what he had done, and since the demon would return, he asked him to stay another night. Jinya agreed, but said he had some questions about Natsuo. He said he heard the demon say, "Return my daughter to me," so he wanted to know the story. Zenji said that Natsuo is not the chief's real daughter. She is the daughter of close relatives, and her parents died long ago, so the chief took her in and raised her as his own daughter. He assured him that there was no possibility she was descended from demons because the chief hates demons with a blind hatred. His wife was killed by them, and his son ran away after the incident, and no one has seen him since. And from that day on, he has carried all that hatred in his heart. That same night, she was having dinner with her father, and he asked her opinion of Jinya as a personal guard. She said that at first she didn't trust him, but after what happened, she was sure he was a brave man and deserved trust. Natsuo was very happy because the chief took the talk about the demons seriously. She told him that the most important thing to her was his love and care for her, because since the day he adopted her, she had felt true happiness. But she still always suffered from people's bad words about her. Late at night, Zenji and Jinya were sitting in front of Natsuo's room as agreed, and suddenly Natsuo came out and asked Jinya his name, because she hadn't given him a chance to introduce himself before. She said she had decided to trust him, especially after she found out that her father trusts him. Natsu genuinely loves her father, and that's natural because he's the one who took her in and raised her. Since they were talking about her father, Jin asked her about his son who disappeared, but Natsu suddenly got upset and said she didn't know anything, and it was clear this was a very sensitive topic for her. So he decided to change the subject so he wouldn't upset her. After that, she asked him another question. Can a human and a demon have a child? Jin told her yes, it's possible. So Natsu started to suspect that she might be the daughter of the demon that keeps attacking them. But Jin reassured her, saying, "No, you have no connection to him at all." Natsu didn't believe him and asked how he could be so sure. So Jin told her that he has personal experience with that specific demon, which is why he's sure she's not related to him. He began to explain that there are many ways a demon can be born into this world, from a demon father and mother, from a human, and a demon, or, in very rare cases, a demon can form from nothing. This last type appears from strong, negative emotions. If these emotions accumulate inside a human, they can turn into a demon, and that's likely the type attacking them now. Suddenly, the demon appeared again, but Jin, with complete composure, walked towards it and asked, "What's your name?" But it was clear this demon wasn't intelligent enough to understand him. The moment it attacked Jin slapped it across the face and it fell to the ground. Then, Zenji told him to finish it off quickly, but Jin replied that even if he killed it, it would just come back. Natsu was surprised and asked him why. Jin explained to her that this monster was created because of her feelings. The monster appeared because Natsu thought that if she caused trouble or made a scene, her father would pay more attention to her. At first, Natsu didn't believe it, but every word Jin said was logical. She wanted anything that would make her father treat her like his real daughter, and suddenly this monster appeared to grant her that wish. Jin told her the only way to get rid of this monster was for her to regain control over her emotions, but Natsu was confused and didn't know how to do that. So Jin told her all she needed was to be honest with herself, admit her feelings, and ask him to kill the monster. So she stopped and thought for a moment, and at that moment she understood everything she wanted was for her father to truly love her as his daughter, but she felt he didn't care about her that way. That's why she started to believe that if she was attacked by a monster, he might start to love her. All the feelings that were inside her were now standing in front of her in the form of this demon. In other words, this monster was Natsu herself. But Zenji told her, "No, don't think of it that way. Yes, it was created from your feelings, but that's not important right now." Zenji was sure her father loved her more than anything else, and she loved him too, but neither of them knew how to express their feelings. That's why she needed to start being more honest with herself from today, and Zenji promised her he would be by her side and help her. These words encouraged her greatly and gave her the strength to rid herself of the doubt and hatred inside her. Then she looked at Jin and said, "Kill it." The moment he heard those words, he drew his sword and sliced the demon in half. This time, the demon's body turned into a white mist and disappeared. Jin was sure it wouldn't come back again. But in the middle of the night, after Natsu fell asleep, the monster's body began to reform. Jin had expected something like this because if the monster was truly born from Natsu's feelings, it should have disappeared. This meant another person's feelings were mixed in with this monster. According to Jin's information, there was only one person in the area with the ability to become a monster, her father's late wife. Even though Natsu's feelings were gone, the monster was disintegrating, but it was still calling for its daughter. Not Natsu this time, but Suzu. What's this now, my friend? We found out that Natsu's father is Jin's father, and Suzu is the one who ran away from him long ago, and that he is the lost son of the leader. And this monster is his mother, and Suzu's mother, to be honest. Jin doesn't remember his mother's features well or what she was like back then, but what he knows is that he is sad that the end was like this. All he can do now is free her from this torment so she can finally rest. The next morning, Jin was ready to leave. The people in Zenji came out to thank him for what he had done, but Jin said there was no need to thank him because he had already received his reward, and moreover, this was his way of fixing what he had done in the past. Natsu didn't understand what he meant, so Jin explained to her that the years had given him a chance to review his past actions. Even though he thought he had done the right thing by running away with Suzu, he hadn't thought about the impact it would have on his father, or even on the whole world itself. She still didn't understand his words, so Jin simply told her, "Appreciate your father and don't lose him," and left her. A little while later, her father himself came out of the house. Zenji was surprised he hadn't come out to thank Jin with them, but he said, "I knew from the first moment that he would know how to handle it." Zenji was surprised why he had such great trust in a random demon hunter. He replied, smiling, "That's natural because any father would know his son." But the others still didn't know that Jin was his son, and he didn't intend to tell them. He told Zenji, "Get back to work quickly," and Zenji went to continue his work. The leader was also walking away when Natsu called him and said, "Can I help you with anything?" He asked her why, and she replied, "Jin's father told me I must repay the favor." The leader smiled and said to her, "You don't need to do anything. The best thing a son can do to make his father happy is to live a long life." A wave of happiness hit them. How many years ahead? Jin was sitting in a small restaurant in another city, enjoying a hot bowl of noodles. The shop owner and his daughter were talking to him. The man complained about the state of the country and also about a rumor that a serial killer was slaughtering people in the city. Anyway, he quickly changed the subject and asked him about the taste of the noodles. Jin honestly said they were very average, and the man wasn't offended by his frank opinion because he himself knew the truth. They kept talking, and he asked him, "Why do you keep coming to eat here? There's nothing to do in this empty city." His daughter tried to quiet him, saying, "Don't scare away the only customer we have." But the man was confident Jin didn't have a problem with the talk. Jin asked him, "So why did you open a restaurant here in the first place?" The man replied that he wanted to escape his past. When Jin finished eating and paid the bill, the man asked him, "What do you do for a living? I mean, where do you get your money from?" Jin said to him calmly, "I kill demons." The man laughed, thinking he was joking, but then he started to give Jin some information that might help him. He told him to think about the serial killer he had talked about, because some people believe he is a demon, and there are horrible stories about his victims. The killer doesn't even use a weapon, and the condition of the victims is very bad. The number of people disappearing doesn't match the number of bodies found, meaning it's possible he kidnaps some and kills the others. The topic interested Jin, so he asked about the location where the killer appears, found out the place, and left. But the restaurant owner's daughter ran after him and said, "Be careful at night." Jin said to her, "I'm a grown man," but the girl replied, "Your behavior proves you're still a child." At night, Jin went to the place where the killer was supposed to appear. He waited for a while, and when he didn't see anything, he decided to return to the hotel. But suddenly, he heard a woman scream. He ran immediately towards it and found 3 bodies thrown in the street. There was no one around them, so he began to examine the 3 bodies. They were men, but the one who screamed was a woman's voice, which made Jin suspicious of the situation. While he was trying to understand what had happened, he felt something coming from behind him. He turned quickly, but there was no one there. He stayed on alert, and suddenly he blocked an attack from an invisible demon. He tried to counterattack but couldn't hit anything. He couldn't see it. He was looking for it, but suddenly his back was hit by a surprise attack. When he turned towards the attacker, it disappeared. At that moment, Jin got annoyed and said, "Enough of this." He unleashed the demon power in his arm and waited for the next attack. When it came, he hit it with all his strength, broke its weapon, and sent it flying away. This time, Jin actually wounded the demon and said, "Come on, come again." The demon revealed itself, and Jin asked its name before killing it. It said its name was Mosuki. Jin said, "Okay, I'll finish you now," but Mosuki quickly said, Wait, sir, wait, I don't want to fight you." Jin got angry and said, "Weren't you the one who attacked me first?" Mosuki said that he was also looking for the killer and heard about the demon, so he thought Jin was the killer. But when Jin accused him of being the killer, he realized he was mistaken and surrendered. Jin was surprised and asked him, "So why would a demon like you want to catch another demon?" Mosuki said, "Let's continue this conversation in another place, away from people." They went to a house, and there Mosuki returned to his human form. He told him that he was an ancient demon who decided to live among people as a human. They sat down to drink tea, and he began to introduce himself. He said he was one of the high-ranking demons who have lived for more than 100 years, thanks to his special ability to hide. Jin said, "You don't look like a high-ranking demon, you look very weak." Mosuki replied nervously, "Any demon who gains a certain ability becomes a high-ranking demon, not because of our physical strength." He admitted that there are high-ranking demons weaker than ordinary demons, and that he was one of them. After that, Jin and Mosuki Masuki told each other they weren't the killer, and since demons don't lie, they believed each other. Demons don't lie? God forgive me, oh Lord. Jin asked Masuki why he attacked him without making sure first. Masuki said that he has a personal vendetta against the demon who killed his wife. This demon kills men on the spot and kidnaps women. His wife was among the victims. Masuki began to break down as he told the story. His wife was a kind human who loved him even though she knew he was a demon. She was kidnapped a month ago, and after 10 days, he found her body in a horrible condition in a nearby river. He doesn't even like humans, but his wife was precious to him, and that's why he won't rest until he gets his revenge. He told Jin to stay out of his way and let him have his revenge, but Jin refused, saying that his mission is to hunt demons, and he can't ignore that. Mosuke understood his position and suggested they work together to find the killer, but when they find him, Mosuke gets to deliver the final blow. Jin was moved by his determination and agreed. The next day, they split up and began gathering information, but they found nothing. They returned to Mosuke's house, sat down to drink together, and began to become friends. Mosuke asked why he kills demons since he is a demon. Jin said it's for money, but Mosuke wasn't convinced. At that point, Jin told him the truth. He kills demons to become stronger because one day, he will stop a specific demon. Mosuke still wanted to know more, so Jin told him his story. He said that Suzu's sister killed the girl he loved, and despite that, he can't bring himself to kill her. Mosuke asked him what he plans to do after he's done. Mosuke said he would return to live in peace and visit his wife's grave. The next day, Jin went to the restaurant, and the owner's daughter asked if there was any new information about the killer. He told her he was still investigating and quickly changed the subject, saying she was beautiful, even though there wasn't a line of people waiting outside the restaurant for her. Her father heard this and ran to him, asking if he wanted to marry his daughter because he wanted to see her happy before he dies. The daughter was embarrassed and told her father to be quiet, then apologized to Jin for her father's behavior. But Jin told her it was clear he loved her. The girl felt that Jin had problems with his own father and asked him about it. He began to tell her that his father never acknowledged his sister and that he ran away from home because of her. Even though he now understands why his father acted that way, there are many things he wishes were different. At night, they went out to look for the killer again, but again, they found nothing. Mosuke was boiling with anger because there was no evidence or new victims. So Jin told him to be patient. Suddenly, Jin saw the restaurant owner's daughter, whose name, by the way, is Ofo, standing looking at the flowers in the moonlight, so he decided to go sit with her because it wasn't safe for her to walk alone. Mosuke left them, saying he'd give them some privacy. Jin asked her what brought her here alone. She replied, "I love looking at flowers under the moonlight." She began to tell him enthusiastically about the types of flowers in front of them. After she finished, he offered to walk her home. As they were walking, she said to him, "You're so big, calm, and quiet. You keep to yourself, acting like Batman. Why is that?" She told him to try to enjoy life a little, but Jin said he couldn't because his goal in life is more important than anything else. Suddenly, she saw a small tree on the side of the road and ran to tell him enthusiastically about it. She began to talk about the flowers and plants around them, and Jin knew one type of plant well because that type is pickled and turned into a stomach medicine. He recounted that in his village, the girl he loved had a sweet tooth, so her stomach always hurt, and he would always prepare this medicine for her. As he spoke, a calm smile appeared on his face. He was remembering his days with Shiroyuki. At that point, Ofo began to respond to what he had said earlier about not being able to enjoy his life because of his mission. She told him he has things he loves and memories he cherishes, and he must stop running away from the beautiful things in his life just because he has a mission to accomplish. After a while, they arrived at Ofo's house, and the light was still on. Clearly, her father was waiting for her. Jin said goodbye to her and said, "Tell me about that flower another day, but preferably when the sun is still up." As soon as Ofo went inside, suddenly Mosuke appeared from behind Jin and said, "That girl is nice. Be careful. Don't get her involved." Jin was surprised and said, "Were you spying on me, you animal? Weren't you the one who said you'd give us some privacy?" Mosuke laughed and didn't continue. In their search the next night, Jin was standing on the bridge waiting when suddenly a drunk man passed by him, and after him, another girl was walking behind him. The girl, as soon as she saw Jin, immediately smiled and didn't notice the demon in front of them until the man was suddenly split in half. The girl fell to the ground and screamed when she saw the demon, which looked like a dragon. Jin quickly took a fighting stance, and when the demon attacked him, he easily blocked the blow and threw it to the side. The girl was terrified and asking what was happening, but Jin told her with complete calm, "Stay behind me and be quiet if you want to stay alive." The demon attacked again, and Jin blocked its blows, but in the end, he was pushed to the side. At that moment, the demon took the opportunity and went to attack the girl. But at that very moment, Mosuke appeared and saved her. Jin quickly attacked the demon but couldn't pierce its thick skin, and the demon managed to escape and jump into the air. Jin apologized to Mosuke for not being able to stop it, but Mosuke understood the situation because they hadn't expected it to be that strong. Mosuke decided to follow it to see where it went, but Jin told him if he found it, not to attack it. Suddenly, the girl said to him, "Aren't you going to help us? Get up. Aren't you a man or what?" Jin reluctantly helped her up with complete coolness and didn't want to open unnecessary topics. But when she asked him, "Don't you remember me?" he looked at her face and remembered her. It turned out she was Natsu, the girl he had helped before, and she had grown up in the 3 years that had passed. Before they left, Zenji remembered a rumor about a nearby temple. Its priest had died a while ago, and people now say a demon lives there. At the same time, Mosuki was still looking for the demon and saw it flying and kidnapping a woman. The scene reminded him of his wife, who died the same way, and he became very angry and forgot everything Jean had told him. He ran after the demon, his only concern being revenge, and he ended up at the very temple Zenji was talking about. Mosuki used his power to become invisible and entered the temple. There, he saw the demon eating the woman, cutting her into pieces in a literally horrific way, my friend. Mosuki, seeing nothing but his revenge, attacked it with his knife. But the demon sensed his killing intent and attacked him, hitting him with a powerful blow that sent half his body flying. The demon left him after hitting him and went back to finish its meal as if it didn't care about him. Mosuki felt frustration and weakness, knowing he would die without getting justice for his wife. Jean arrived at the temple, and as soon as he entered, he rushed to Mosuki, who was lying there severely injured. Mosuki told him the demon was here a little while ago eating a woman, and he was sure it was the same demon that killed his wife. But Jean began to doubt a little when he heard it was eating the victim because the killer they had talked about was kidnapping women, but not eating them. Mosuki handed him a special knife and said it was made in the village of Kodono, the same village Jean is from. The knife works like magic against demons. He asked him to kill the demon with it so he could feel he had gotten his justice, even if only a small part. Jean agreed, and before Mosuki died and disappeared, he asked to borrow his power. Mosuki agreed with great pleasure. Jean used his demon arm to take Mosuki's power. As he did this, he saw Mosuki's memories, how Mosuki was always running from other demons, and when he decided to live as a human, he met a kind woman who loved him, and she loved him back even after he confessed he was a demon. After the memories ended, Mosuki turned into mist and disappeared, and Jean decided to get justice for him and his wife. At that time, the demon was returning to its lair, bringing another woman to eat. It was talking to itself, saying that from the moment it woke up, it was just a monster, and all it knew was that it had to return home without even knowing where home was. Its instinct told it to always kill and eat humans, and that's what it was doing. But despite that, it never felt full until the first time it ate a woman. At that moment, it felt its body taking, "Something is missing," and since that day, every victim has been a woman. Anyway, let's get back to our topic. He was eating the victim when he heard Genya's voice saying to him, "Are you stupid? You're returning to the exact same place you were attacked in?" The demon turned around after him, but Genya was hidden, and in a moment, Genya attacked and sliced his hand off without the demon even feeling it. The demon screamed and started attacking randomly, but Genya was dodging the blows with complete ease and was confident that this time he would win. He revealed himself and used his demonic arm, and with a single strike, he cut the demon's head off with the sword. The head fell to the ground, but the demon was still alive. Genya wasn't finished yet. He said to the demon people talk about kills men on the spot, but he kidnaps women. That's why the number of corpses isn't the same as the number of missing people. But Muski's wife was found in the river. If he was the one who kidnapped her, he would have eaten her. So what happened? Genya asked the demon. "What do you want exactly?" The demon replied, saying, "I need a body so I can return to my home." Itashu, but the answer wasn't enough. So Genya decided to absorb his power and went inside him to see his memories. And here was the shock. This demon originally was a woman who had been wrapped by some humans, or should we call them animals, and they threw her in the river as she was dying. All she could think about was that she wanted to return to her husband, but she couldn't in that body. And because of her intense desire for a sound body, she turned into a demon as she was dying. While dying, she was calling out Muski's name. At that moment, Genya understood the truth, that Musky had been pretending to be sick for his wife all along without knowing it. The weather calmed, and Genya looked at the scene with sadness, and the demon disappeared. Behind her remained her hairpin. In short, my friend, Muski's wife was wrapped by those people and thrown in the river. People said the demon did it, and rumors spread. Then, Muski's wife turned into a demon and was killing people unconsciously. After this story, the killing stopped, but Genya hadn't finished his mission yet. He went to look for the men. No, what men? The ones who destroyed Muski's life and killed his wife. Not only that, but they were planning their next attack. He stood in front of them, and in a moment, he attacked one of them and killed him. The second fell to the ground, dying. Genya pulled out Muski's knife and finished him off, saying, "I got your revenge for you, my friend." After that, on one of the nights, a man was entering a restaurant to eat, but as he entered, he noticed someone walking in front of him. He felt like this person reminded him of his brother, so he stopped to look at him for a bit, not paying attention to his surroundings. Suddenly, Ofu accidentally bumped into him. When she saw the swords on his waist, she knew she had gotten into trouble. This man was a samurai. Upsetting a samurai in these times could get you killed. So she started apologizing to him quickly, trying to get away. But strangely, the samurai told her, "Don't apologize, because the mistake is mine. I wasn't paying attention to my surroundings." Ofu was surprised because it's very rare to find such an understanding samurai. After a while, Ofu's father came out of the shop and reassured her. He told her that this samurai's name was Natsujo and that he was known to be kind and doesn't cause trouble for no reason. The next day, Natsujo returned to the restaurant and ordered his food. He sat eating, looking distracted and burdened with worry. Ofu and her father noticed something was bothering him, so they went to him and asked if something was wrong. They told him if he needed to talk, they were there to listen. Natsujo thanked them and told them he was worried about his older brother. But Ofu was surprised because, to their knowledge, Natsujo was the only heir to his family and didn't have a brother at all, and this was the problem. Natsu was sure he had a brother named Stinaga, but every time he tried to remember or talk about him, people would tell him he didn't have a brother. Natsujo felt like he might be going crazy because even his own family didn't remember him having a brother. This issue was causing him great confusion and anxiety. Ofu and her father felt how upset he was, so they told him they knew someone who might be able to help him, someone who deals with these strange things and is also strong enough to kill demons. And by coincidence, a few seconds later, that man actually entered the restaurant. It was Genya, of course. He ordered food and sat down. Ofu's father immediately started preparing his food. When he finished eating, Ofu approached him and offered him tea. He managed to identify the type of rose she used in preparing the tea, because he also takes lessons from her in flowers. He thanked her for serving him and told her she had become skilled at it. But suddenly, Natsujo interrupted and said he heard that Genya investigates strange things and asked for his help. Genya told him he wouldn't be able to help because he only knows how to do one thing: kill demons. So if the problem doesn't involve demons, then he can't do anything. Later, Natsujo met Genya again by chance. She sat next to him, and suddenly he asked her, "Are you and Zenig getting married soon?" The question was so surprising that she almost choked on the food in her mouth. When she calmed down a bit, she asked him, "Where did you get that question from?" He said he was just thinking, and that she is now 16 years old, which in these times is a suitable age for marriage, so he expected her father would want to marry her off to someone like Zenig, a reliable man. She understood his way of thinking but told him she would never marry Zenig, not because she hates him, but he is much older than her, and she always feels he is like a brother to her. And since they were talking about marriage, Natsujo asked him, "And why haven't you gotten married yet?" He told her honestly, there aren't many girls ready to marry a demon hunter who doesn't have a stable job. She tried to coax it out of him and asked him about the secret, but he replied with a vague answer, "I don't like anyone discovering the whole truth," because he didn't want to say that half of him is a demon. Then he got up quietly, put some money on the table to pay, and said he had to leave now because he was going to hunt demons. She was surprised and asked him, "But why? I mean, you're clearly skilled with a sword. You could get a good, stable job and live comfortably." But Jen simply replied, "This is the only way I can achieve what I want." These words made her feel relieved because she had thought he didn't care about anything. But now she understood that he was like anyone else, with a goal he wants to achieve. Before she left, she greeted him and told him not to worry, then left him and walked away. That same night, Natsuko was getting ready to go out to continue his search for his brother, whom he always felt was present even if everyone said otherwise. But before he could open the door, his mother called out to him with a worried voice and said, "Natsuko, I'm really starting to worry about you." He tried to avoid her, but she stopped him. She told him she had told him many times that he doesn't have a brother and that he needs to stop this madness. She also told him she heard from people that he goes to disreputable areas in the city asking about his brother, and this is tarnishing the family's reputation. She reminded him that he is the family heir and should focus on his work and responsibilities, but he insisted, saying he wouldn't focus on anything else until he found his brother, and he walked out before she could finish speaking. As he was walking in the street, he had a clear image of his brother in his mind. He remembered his laugh, his voice, everything, to the point that he felt they had just been together 2 days ago. Suddenly, Genya appeared behind him and asked, "Are you still looking for your brother?" He said, "Yes, I won't stop until I find him." Genya told him he had decided to help him and investigate the matter, but honestly, he wasn't sure he would find anything. Natsuko was very happy, not because there was hope, but because finally someone believed him and was willing to share the burden he had been carrying alone. The first thing Genya asked about was what his brother was doing before he disappeared. Natsuko was going to invite him into the house to talk, but he remembered his mother was there, and she definitely wouldn't approve of him bringing in someone related to what she saw as madness. So they decided to go talk at the restaurant. As they were sitting there quietly, Natsujo said, "By the way, that sword of yours looks unusual. Are you from a samurai family?" Genya smiled and said, "No, I was living in a village in the mountains famous for its blacksmiths. I had an important role there related to fighting demons, and that's why I use a sword." He also said the sword he had was a sacred sword in the village, but a disaster happened. However, at that time, they allowed him to take the sword with him on his journey. Natsuko noticed details about the sword and said, "This is the work of the blacksmiths of Kaduno village, right?" Genya was surprised and asked him, "How did you know?" He replied with a smile, "I've been into swords for a long time." He told him he spends hours studying all types of swords and can distinguish between each type at first glance. And indeed, Genya's sword was distinctive. At that point, he asked, "Does this sword have a name?" Genya said, Yes, its name is Yartsoyo, Matsuyo. He got excited and said, "Can I try it?" But Genya's expression changed and he said, "No, that's too much." Natsuko felt he had overstepped his bounds and immediately apologized, saying he was just excited and didn't mean anything by it. After the moment passed, they returned to the main topic, the matter of his brother. Natsujo told him he had tried many times to look for him, but never found a lead to follow. Everyone said his brother never existed. The strange thing wasn't that he disappeared. The strange thing was that no one even remembered him. It was as if time itself had erased his existence from the earth. Sometimes he meets people who have memories of his brother, as if they had seen or known him before. But the strange thing is that as soon as he asked them for more details, they suddenly forget who he was talking about. The matter was strange and worrying, so Ofu's father, who was sitting with them, interjected and said, "Can we talk about this here?" Genya reassured him and said, "No one ever comes to this place anyway, sir. Relax. Besides, he knows that Ofu and her father are very concerned about Natsujo's condition, so there's no problem with the conversation." At that time, Genya looked at Natsujo and asked, "Do you remember when your brother disappeared for the first time?" Natsujo told him it happened at the end of last month. After thinking a bit, he remembered that before he disappeared, his brother was telling him he was going to meet a girl. A few days later, Natsuko entered his room and noticed some flowers placed there. He doesn't know much about flowers, but these flowers had a strong scent and were white, which made him very surprised. Genya asked him, "Did you see these flowers yourself and when exactly?" Natsujo said he did see them in his brother's room, which was strange because his brother was never the type of person who liked flowers. Genya asked him if he still had those flowers. Natsu reassured him, saying he keeps them safely, holding on to the hope that they might be a clue one day. This news made Genya worried and anxious. He told him that in that case, he must go to Natsujo's house himself and search the room, even if his mother wouldn't approve. The next morning, Genya returned to the restaurant and was surprised to find Ofu there. It was clear they were starting to get closer. Ofu's father was surprised and saw harmony between them. So he looked at his daughter and said, "Don't get your hopes up. What, am I going to live for you forever? Don't get excited about this guy or anything." But she didn't understand what he meant at all. Afterwards, Genya asked Ofu, "Are you close to Natsujo?" She replied, "We're not very close friends, but we talk a lot when he comes to the restaurant," and described him as a respectable and kind man. Ofu's father joined the conversation and said that Natsuko just gets overly excited when he talks about swords, which makes him more enthusiastic than necessary. And because of that, he decided to give a gift to Genya. He brought out an old samurai sword he had hidden. Ofu was surprised and said to her father, "How did you get this sword? Shouldn't only samurai have these things?" He replied, "This sword was a gift from Natsuko, and I think Genya deserves it now." Genya tried to refuse, saying the sword wasn't his right, but Ofu's father insisted. He said he didn't think a shop owner like him needed to keep a weapon like this. It was clear he really wanted Genya to take it, and he took it, but there was still something important he needed to ask about. He looked at Ofu and asked her, "The white flower with a yellow center, could it be a narcissus?" Ofu thought for a moment and said, "Yes, very likely." Genya's reaction at that time showed clear worry because if the flower Natsujo found in his brother's room was indeed a narcissus, then the matter had gone in a different, more worrying direction. This flower isn't just a decoration. It could be connected to something much more dangerous than a simple disappearance. Genya and Natsujo went to Natsujo's house. When they arrived, Natsujo said with a smile, "Please, come in." Shortly after, Natsujo's mother appeared. She asked in surprise, "Who is this?" Genya took a step forward and said politely, "I'm sorry for coming so suddenly. My name is Genya." The mother welcomed him but remained puzzled. So she asked Natsujo, "Can you explain to me who this person is?" Genya replied, "I am from Kaduno village." The mother smiled and said, "Is that the village famous for its sword makers, right?" Natsuko nodded and said, "Yes, and Genya is a samurai like me and loves swords, so I brought him to spend the day with me." When they entered the room, Genya saw the flower he had come to see. Genya told him it was indeed a narcissus and asked him if this flower had any importance. Genya replied, "Not strongly, but it looks smaller than I imagined." Genya asked, "Are you sure you found this flower in the spring itself?" He said with confidence, "Of course." Genya continued, "The girl your brother was going to meet before he disappeared. Now I'm starting to believe she was a demon. It's clear your brother might have been taken to another world, and the evidence for that is these flowers." Natsujo became tense and asked him, "You mean these flowers came from a demoness?" Genya said, "Show me the room." Natsujo agreed and said, "Okay, come with me." As soon as Natsujo reached his brother's room, he felt a strange smell that made his head spin. He felt as if he was being pulled into another world. There, he saw a girl trying to save her family from a fire, but alas, she couldn't. Everything turned to dust. The girl fell to the ground, and when she stood up and walked among the people, they were all afraid of her. Every time she reached out her hand to someone, they ran away from her. When she looked in the water, she saw her eyes had turned red. As they say, she had turned completely into a demoness. She kept saying to herself that she had lost her family, her home, and that her world was ruined. She felt anxious as her memories began to disintegrate. She ran, saying, "I am lost and I can't return to the garden again." After that, she went to live in the city and grew up there. One day, she went to Natsu's house and saw his brother, Sadano, katana, training, and his family was happy for him. The girl started to cry and said she wished she could return and imagined her family with her, playing with the ball again. Suddenly, Natsujo called out, but he was still in the girl's world and asked himself, "What is happening?" Genya appeared behind him and said, "It seems we've been transported to a place related to your brother's room." Natsuko asked, "But what is this place?" Genya said, "This fire, the girl who became a demoness, and the old house, these things shouldn't exist." Natsujo said, "But I saw all this with my own eyes," and the two of them kept watching the girl as she played with the ball in front of Sadana. When Natsujo saw his brother, he ran towards him, but suddenly felt a pain in his head and fell to the ground. Sadana asked the girl, "What would you like me to cook for you today?" and said he had become good at cooking compared to before. The girl said, "It would be better if you left and abandoned all this." Sadana replied, "Then the time has come for me to cook your favorite meal for you." The girl shouted and said, "Listen to me. You have a home and a family waiting for you. Don't let this feeling of pity for me ruin you." This garden, or the house she is in, reminds her of her father and mother who died. Sadana looked at her and said, "You misunderstand. A home isn't the place. A home is the people inside it." He told her that happiness can be found anywhere, and any place that doesn't bring us happiness isn't our real home. The girl asked him, "How did you know that?" He replied, "You've been sitting here alone for 100 years. You must have felt it inside you." And he told her he might consider leaving this place, but on the condition that she comes with him. The girl quickly replied, "Impossible. I will stay here." Sadana tried to get closer to her and asked, "Well, what do you think about us living together?" He told her he really wanted that to happen, and asked her if she could consider him like a father. He told her he was ready to stop being a samurai and live a quiet life away with her. Of all this, the girl replied and told him, "I can't run away from here, and I can't see you, Cap." Sadona smiled and said to her, "Okay, it's a bit awkward, but wait until you change your mind." He told her that he was speaking seriously, and that if the day came that she considered her father, then they would walk away together from here. The girl replied and said, "I don't see that day coming." Sadona said to her, "What a pity. It seems I will stay here forever." And after that, he suddenly disappeared. Siko asked, "Where did my brother go?" She replied to him and said, "There's no one here at all, and everything has disappeared." Natsuko kept begging for her to bring his brother back, but Jenny approached him and said, "He won't come back again." Natsuko got confused and asked him, "How can you say that? I just saw him, and he was here just now." Jenny replied to him and said, "He was indeed present, but in a different time." He said to him, "What do you mean? What are you trying to say?" Jen replied and told him, "Everything has its time, like flowers that bloom in different seasons. For example, the Zor you showed me appeared. Narcissus flowers come out at the beginning of winter, but Sedan disappeared at the beginning of spring, and now we are in autumn. So where did he get the narcissus from? These flowers are proof of spring, and we are supposed to be in autumn, but these flowers are still blooming. The important thing from all this confusion is that time here is different." The girl said, "Time here runs faster than reality." He ran away and asked her how. She replied to him and said, "He has an ability with which he was able to create this garden from the past, like a small world he lives in within memories." And suddenly, her father and mother appeared and disappeared again. So she told them, "That's all I have. I can't imprison anyone in this small world. Its power is merely a longing for the past. It doesn't bring anyone back." Natsuko asked her about his brother. She told him, "He died." He replied to her and said, "There's no one here at all." And after that she said, "I will leave now, and I know I took your brother from you, but I thank you. He truly saved me." And she reassured them that they would return to their original place when they woke up. Genie asked her, "What will you do after this?" She said to him, "I will keep looking at what I have lost all my life." And she said, "That man wasted his life trying to create a special place for me to live in." And Geni asked her, "So will you fulfill your promise to Sadana?" The girl smiled and disappeared, and after that they returned to their real world. Natsuko said to him, "I think we are back, and I wish you would explain to me why my brother chose to stay in the world of demons and what is all this happening. I know you also don't understand, my friend, but we will all understand soon." After that, they went to the restaurant. He imagined himself searching through historical records and found that this fire happened 200 years ago, and most likely, it is the same fire that made the girl lose everything. They said that this might explain why the second world was connected to our world. Jenny apologized to Natsujo because he couldn't help him in the end, but Natsujo told him, "Don't apologize, I am grateful to you." And he assured him that Sadana was a loyal man to Mabad, even if he didn't understand why he refused to return. But the only thing he is sure of is that he remained true to his heart until the end, and that is enough for him. He said that he was late and must leave to complete his work, and as he was walking, Abu Ufo stopped and told him that his brother was a great person, even if no one remembers him. That doesn't change the fact that he sacrificed everything to save a girl who needed help, and that made Natsujo cry and say that he is truly proud of him. Abu Ufo thanked Genya for helping Natsujo and said to him, "I also thank you," and he asked him, "Why do you look so sad?" Genya replied and said, "There is still something puzzling in this case." He told them that Natsujo's brother's name is supposed to be Sadana, but the girl called him by the name Huma, and that was strange because the two are not the same name. Abu Ufo said that his real name might actually be Huma, Because Genia said that the real name of the samurai is not known except to those who serve him or his family. Abu Ufo laughed and said, in fact, even his family does not know his real name, and the girl calling him Huma was proof that he considered her from his family. Genia remembered something and said that Ametsuko was always scolding him for his obsession with swords, and asked Abu Ufo to repeat a specific sentence she said before. Abu Ufo said that he heard Amonatsujo saying to him, "Stop this obsession of yours, Irimori," and he remembered hearing her say that to him once. Genia told him that he met her before, and she was a kind, respectable woman. She even spoke to him kindly in front of people. But with all that, she was careful and did not call her son by his real name. She used to call him Natsujo. So the question is, how did you know his real name? The name that only his family is supposed to know? The demon said that Sadana is not here anymore, and demons do not lie, but they might hide the truth, and that is most likely what happened. He told them that after Sadana went with the girl to the second world, he lived there for more than 20 years and then decided to leave it. The result was that he grew very old, and in the real world, only 1 month had passed even though he lived more than 20 years. This means he could not return to his home as an old man, so he went to the city and bought an old house at a good price and opened a restaurant. If I made a mistake in something, I hope you correct it for me. Abu Ufo said, time in the world of demons is faster, isn't it? Otherwise it wouldn't be logical to say he died of old age. Genia replied and said that he does not believe he died, so he asked him how he is sure of that. Genia replied and said, because the girl was laughing, and Sadana would not have died and left her laughing like that unless she had actually found a new father. You confused me. Genia said, even though many signs appeared before, not just the names, there are other things as well. They said it was strange that a shop owner like him had tools, but that is natural because he was still Sadana at the time, right? Abu Ufo admitted the truth and was amazed by Genia's intelligence. And Genia asked him, why didn't you tell him that you are his brother? He would have been happy if he knew you were still alive. Abu Ufo, who we found out in the end is Sadana, said, I decided to be next to the person who needed protection the most, and from that time, I stopped being from my family and no longer had the right to consider myself Natsujo's brother. And then Natsujo was no longer a small child. He became a big shot, and I knew he was fine without me. Isn't that right, my demon friend? Genia was surprised. How does Sadan know he is a demon? I mean, I lived with a demon for more than 20 years, and I won't understand that you are a demon? Genia kept asking. Then where is the girl now? She is here, standing. She becomes Ufo, my friend. Genia looked at Ufo, not believing she lived more than 20 years. Ufo asked him, what are you planning to do now? Genia said simply, I want to eat. He ordered the food quickly, and while he was preparing the food, she poured him tea and was laughing. She said she was happy and felt that her life now had a much greater meaning than just her mission to eliminate demons. And after that, she brought the food. And while he was eating, he remembered the old days and said to himself that time keeps passing without mercy. Even the things we love and are close to our hearts are lost from us, and when they are lost, they don't come back again. The days pass. We see Genia sitting drinking tea with his father. The father tells him that the new part needs a service from him. He tells him that there is an art gallery owner in a city next to them named Tenmachu, came to him and said he has something strange and decided to show it to him. And indeed, he shows him a picture of a demon. He tells him her name is Yukio Katsanka. Genia began to wonder about rumors or something strange surrounding the picture. At that time, his father told him that the artist who painted this picture is very sick and bedridden. People say the reason is that he sold a picture of a demon. Genia began to focus more and said that the picture looks normal at first, but the supernatural thing only appears under certain circumstances. His father agreed and said he hopes nothing happens, but if a disaster happens because of this picture, then Genia must act. Genia agreed and said he is at her service. He stopped him and told him not to worry. He won't let him work for free, and they promised to have a drink together after he finishes this story. And indeed, Genia agreed. The next day, Genia goes to a restaurant and orders a dish. Suddenly, Zenji enters the place and shows the same picture. He tells him it is a picture of a demon, and the one who owned it died in a strange way, as if it were a curse. Genia notices that the picture is torn, and Zenji said he tore it by accident while coming. The shop owner was angry and told him not to enter the place again with cursed pictures like that, and Zenji apologized. At that moment, Genia shows Zenji the copy he has and tells him he got it from an art gallery. Zenji focuses and notices that the two pictures are very similar. Genia tells him it is not logical for there to be more than one cursed picture coming from an unknown source. And when he looked at the picture, he said it is beautiful and normal in appearance and asked Zenji if he saw anything strange in it. Zenji noticed that the picture is in very good condition and the colors are still new. He says it hasn't even been a year since it was printed, meaning it is still new. He says it hasn't even been a year since it was printed, meaning it is still new. After that, Zenji said he knows the place of the gallery in Tenmachu, and if he asks a little, he might reach the real artist. Genya thanked him and said he would repay him this favor one day. Zenji replied and told him, "Don't mention it, you made me very happy before." After that, we see Zenji going alone to the gallery, and Genya waiting from afar. The gallery owner asked him, "How can I help you?" Zenji asked him if he still has the Yukio picture. The owner said to him that he doesn't display it anymore because it became famous for being a cursed demon picture. He also told him that displaying it might ruin the reputation of the place, so he won't risk it. Zenji found the matter suspicious and began to wonder if the artist lives in the area. After a while, he returned to Genya and told him he found out that the artist lives in Kaide. Genya left him not immediately. We see Genya standing in front of the artist's house. He knocked on the door, asked for permission, and entered. The artist, whose name is Sajid Duno, said he doesn't get visitors for a while and asked, "Who are you?" Genya introduced himself and said he came to consult him about something. Saja told him not to trouble himself with so much politeness because he is not an important person. Jenny sat down and looked around the house. He noticed there were many paintings. He told him he heard he is tired, but Saja said he is not sick, but old age, you know, time and what it does to people. Genya understood that his fatigue has nothing to do with the picture's curse, and they asked if a specific person sent him, but Genya said he just came to ask about the demon picture he painted. Saja, as soon as he heard about the picture, his memories came back to him. Genya said he is investigating the truth of this picture and also wants to know its origin. Saja understood and began to tell him. He said that the picture Kazanka does not symbolize the place called that, but symbolizes the woman in the picture. Genya was thinking if the woman's name in the picture is the name that was mentioned, but Saja told him no. Siav from Kaduno is the one who named the picture with this name. That man was named Madaro, and he used to come to this place a lot. Genya at that time began to realize that the person he is talking about is Madaro, who he adopted long ago, and he remembers him well in his last moments. At that time, Madaro was feeling very weak. He couldn't even protect the woman he loved. He felt useless, but as everything changes with time, he also changed. And before he left for the battle from which he never returned, he asked Genya not to be like him, not to let hatred control him and determine his decisions. They said he is responsible now. He must protect Shiroki. We return again to the present time. Genya asks Saja to tell him more about Madaro. He says he was his adoptive father. Saja agreed and said it is impossible to tell the story of the picture of Kadzana without mentioning Madaro. Everything started when Saja was a beginner artist and had a place for rent in Edo. And one time, he saw a woman walking nearby and knew she lived next to him. He asked her about her name. She told him she can't tell him and she can't lie. So she asked him to call her the woman without a name. Yes, by God, as I tell you. With time, they became friends. She used to come to see his paintings from time to time. He told her he would become the greatest artist in Edo, and she thought he was joking. And one day, Madaro came to deliver a letter from Tsukuhime, and she wasn't his wife yet. He was upset and saying it is not fair for someone like her to send her guardian to distribute letters as if he were a mailman. He saw her as a difficult woman, more difficult than the demons themselves. Saja asked him, "Why do you always complain about her?" Madaro replied that he entered this job for his dignity, but what it turned out he was doing was messenger work, trivial work that is unnecessary. Saja said that Madaro used to come to his place every year, and every time he would complain about Tsukuhime, but his expression was acting the role while hiding his true feelings. After that, he returned to the picture they talked about and said the picture was made when No Name was still living here, and after a while, people from next to them came and said they want to buy the picture. The one being sold now is a copy engraved on wood, taken from the new version. He drew, engraved, and printed it himself. Genya asked him if the woman in the picture is No Name, but Saja said the matter is not that simple. Genya asked him why he called his picture Katsana, a picture of a demon. And here he told him the truth. This picture is actually cursed and has a real curse inside it. Before he begins the full story, he asked Genya, "When you first saw the picture, what was the first thing you noticed?" Genya said that the legend of Princess Ninaka and Shinano came to his mind, but the sword in her hand made him suspect it had a relation to Kaduno and Princess Tsukuhime. Saja told him his observation is correct. He decided to tell him the story with warnings that he might regret if he hears it to the end. Saja continued and said that Madaro used to come to his place every year for work and was always complaining and returning to his country, but with time, his feelings towards Tsukuhime changed, and one day, he asked Saja to draw a picture of her. Saja was surprised at that time, but Madaro said, "I don't hate her like I used to. Do you understand now why you were acting like you knew?" Saja agreed to draw, but he said he never saw Tsukuhime. But Madaro told him there is no problem. We have No Name. He explained to him that No Name was born in Shinoteho, but a problem happened there, so she fled to Kaduno and then came to Edo. Of course, you don't understand all these countries. The important thing from all this story is that Saja found the story exciting, but he didn't understand how this would help in drawing the picture. Madaro at that time told him he is confident that No Name and Tsukuhime are related to each other because the two look very similar. And at that time, Genya began to suspect if Tsukuhime is the one in the picture of Katsanka. He told Genya that he is right. This picture is made based on no name, but with the help of some ideas from Madaro, and it became a picture of Tsukuhime. So Genya then asked him about the demon subject. Saja replied, laughing, and said that the reason Madaro was always saying that Tsukumiya is a demon from the demons themselves, so he started joking and calling it the picture of the demon. He was annoying him, but from how much Madaro talked about her, when Saja drew a sketch from this picture as a kind of nostalgia for the past, the gallery owner took the talk seriously. People at that time thought the picture was cursed, and that it brings illness, and all this was just coincidence after coincidence that made the picture gain this reputation. Genya asked then, "What did you mean when you told me I would regret if I heard this matter?" Saya smiled and asked him, "Do you see Katsanka as beautiful?" He said the reason for his words is that Madaro, no matter how many pictures he drew, was not satisfied. He was always trying to make it more and more beautiful until the drawing became a kind of obsession. He said that Katsanka is originally Tsukuhime, but after Madaro enhanced her beauty, Saja admitted that this picture was the embodiment of Madaro's obsessive love, a heavy love, like a curse. At that time, Genya understood that Katsanka is not made from hatred, but from deep, suppressed feelings of love. Saja was surprised that Genya did not know the story, and he showed him a drawing from the drawings he tried to make long ago and said he hopes he doesn't hate Shura because he told him, "Of course I don't understand anything." Exactly. Even if Madaro was sometimes stupid, he really loved his family. After his daughter was born, Madaro started going to Edo less and less, and when he became an adoptive father to 2 children, he stopped coming entirely, and that was his nature, and Genya knows that well. After that, Genya met his real father and told him there is nothing wrong with the picture and that the demon story is just a reflection of regret inside the artist's heart. He told him he doesn't see that it will cause a problem whether he sells it or keeps it. His father asked him about the rumor that says the picture killed someone. Genya said it was most likely a coincidence. It was clear that the one who received the picture from the deceased didn't find anything strange in it. His father thanked him for his effort and said he would reward him later. But now, they will sit together and have a drink. The understanding from all that was said is that he felt the value of his father more and more as the days passed. And in one of the nights, Genya was standing under a tree and a demon approached him. She told him, "Buy me." But Genya refused. She kept begging him, but he refused again, so she attacked him but failed to harm him. He tried to know her name, but she didn't give him a chance. She kept attacking him until he was forced to kill her. A woman saw all that happened and agreed with Genya on what he did. She told him she was agreeing with him to kill that girl because she was one of the girls from the list but wasn't famous. And when her life became tired, she became miserable and turned into a demon after everyone rejected her. Genya asked her, "Why did they choose me for this task? Is this pity for the girl?" The woman said yes and said she is afraid she might become like her one day. She works like this to live, and she managed to read his features and said he looks tired. She introduced herself as Otaka and told him the name is enough. She asked him that if she becomes a demon one day, to kill her quickly. Genya told her he doesn't work for free, and that made her feel that he doesn't feel. And after she left, Genya felt that this woman is mysterious. There is something behind her. After that, we go to a specific temple that was very crowded because of a holy day. We see Ufo and Natsu. Natsu asks about Genya. Ufo tells her he is busy, and Zenji is also busy, so she decided that she and Ufo would enjoy the festival alone, play with the children, and eat sweets. After that, they see a strange plant. Natsu asked Ufo about it. She said its name is Hosuki, and it is pink as if there is fire in it, and some people call it the demon's lantern. Natsu got scared and told her that she was attacked twice by demons, and Genya saved her, and that he was her guardian for the past 4 years. Ufo asked her if she loves Genya. Natsu denied the words immediately. She said it's not love. He is connected to several situations that affected her. She said she understood that he is a sensitive and broken person inside, not just a fighter, and that's why she feels safe with him. Ufo agreed with her opinion and said that Genya runs away from his feelings. Suddenly, a merchant called them to show them his goods. Natsu asked Ufo about him. She said Spawn always comes to their restaurant and is from Kyoto. He introduced himself and said his name is Akitsu, and that surprised Natsu because he is one of the most famous metalworkers. When he tried to reassure her, she said she is the daughter of a craftsman, and she can't help but worry. She looked at his item and said, "It is really good." Behind it were 2 identical shells, and Natsu knew them. She had seen them a while ago, but their craftsmanship was excellent. He told her she is the same age as her, and if she gives this shell to someone she loves, he will become attached to her. But she said she is not interested in anyone. Ufo told him she is actually interested in someone but is too shy to say, and that made her feel embarrassed and laugh. After that, behind it was a toy in the shape of a bird that she liked, but she said it is not of the same quality as his usual work. Despite that, she liked the shell and decided to buy it. After she paid him the money, he gave her an additional gift. It was a hairpin, but it was an original and very rare piece, and that surprised Natsuko greatly. She asked him, "Where did you get it from?" But he said it's not expensive or anything, and that he would have thrown it away if he hadn't taken it, and that shocked her. How could he throw away something like that? But he insisted that she take it. He told her it would bring her good luck, so she accepted it and thanked him, and they left. After that, we go to Genia, who was chasing another demon, and indeed, he went to his place and killed him. After that, he went to the man who assigned him the task and took the reward. The man offered him a distinguished drink that hasn't appeared on the market yet, but Genia refused to take it and left. The man thanked him and said if he needs anything after this, he will contact him. And as he was walking alone, Otaka appeared to him. She said she is happy he came out safe. Yes, and when he asked her if she was worried about him, she admitted she was actually worried and said that if he died because of the information she gives him, she would feel guilty. Genia defended her for the price of the information, and he asked her what is bothering him. He told her he killed something he didn't want to kill, but still, he couldn't stop himself from using his sword. Before she left, she told him about another man who kills demons, but not like him. He controls Shikigami. It is said that he might use animals like dogs and birds in hunting demons, although she is not sure. She says it might be just talk. She advised him not to let the new one steal his work from him, and she left. Genia went to the restaurant, and there they were waiting for him. And when Natsu saw him, she ran to him and grabbed his hand. She said, "Man, I missed you." Genia pulled his hand away quickly, but she asked him not to do that. Ufo told him that as soon as Natsu wore the pin on her head, something strange happened to her, and she started crying and asking about Genia. Genia asked to see this pin, and as soon as he held it, they saw that it is normal and there is nothing strange about it. Ufo suggested they break it, but Genia refused. Natsu asked for the pin again, and he returned it to her. She kept sticking to Genia literally. Suddenly, Zenji came and was surprised by the situation. He tried to pull her away from Genia, but she yelled at him. They all sat at one table, and Natsu is still holding on to Genia. Genia asked Ufo about the place they bought the pin from. She told him it was from Akitsu and gave him all the information she had about him. When Genia said he wants to look for him, Zen said that Akitsu died a long time ago, literally years ago. Ufo then said, "What's going on?" Ufo said that people said this pin is from Akitsu, and that made Zenji suspect more that Akitsu returned as a demon. But Abu Ufo said he saw Akitsu with his own eyes and that it is impossible for him to be a demon. Genia agreed with Abu Ufo even though he never saw Akitsu before, and that made Zenji wonder about his behavior. Ufo asked them, "So what will you do now?" All of them began to feel frustration and despair, and as soon as Genia was about to move to look for Akitsu, Natsu grabbed him and refused to let him go. Genia asked her to let him go, but she refused and said she was waiting for him for a long time and won't let him go again. She said all she wished for was to stay next to him, and her wish finally came true after long patience, and she is very happy now. So Genia told her that he must go out now and will come to her again. He asked her to wait for him in the same place and not to worry. After that, we go to another temple, and Genia kept asking about Akitsu in several places, but didn't find him. Suddenly, while he was distracted, he remembered what happened to him long ago and remembered his sister. When he regained consciousness, he found Akitsu behind him. Akitsu said he is sure the moon will be wonderful tonight and that he loves to drink on nights like these. Genia asked if he needed anything from him, and without knowing it was Akitsu, he replied and said, "I am the one who should ask you what you want from me, Genia," and he prepared his sword. He asked him his name. He tells him, "I am Akitsu, the one you are looking for," and revealed his demonic power, and around him appeared a group of demon dogs. And the episode ends here, my friend. Of course, these are all the episodes that have been released so far. Wait for the new part as soon as possible, God willing. But don't forget to like and subscribe. Pray upon the prophet. I'll see you later, my friend.